Dave Portnoy, I'm sure you've seen it. You know, he was heckled by someone who said something really disgusting.
What mind virus has infected this young kid who's 20 years old, and he sees a Jewish guy doing a pizza review and feels that he should throw change at him and say that? That is because the wrong ideas have entered his brain.
That's why I'm a little bit worried. Joining me now is the Rubin Report host. Of course, that is Dave Rubin. Dave, it's great to see you from afar. I believe you're in Florida these days. You're not still in California, are you?
Can't you tell that I have the glow of a Florida man, a man who is free and not, hit in the head with government income tax and who lives in a safe place that's flourishing, and I wake up with gators next to me and all of that good stuff? Doesn't it just come through the camera?
It certainly does. Now, you made the choice to leave California and go to Florida. I left California and I came to Tennessee because the humidity is bad for my hair. But we both made a great decision. I want to play a clip that's going viral, speaking on that kind of anti-Semitism topic. Dave Portnoy, I'm sure you've seen it. He was heckled by someone who said something really disgusting. For the audience that hasn't seen it, I want to play it and get your reaction.
Again, Brandon Walker, I hate him so much. He's like made me want to hate Starkville, but so far I like it. Why don't you come in the camera, buddy? Why? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on.
I shouldn't be allowed to make those jokes, right? I should be putting handcuffs. That's what you said.
No, handcuffs. No, you can
That's
joke.
what you said. That's what you said. You're an employee. You said you shouldn't be making jokes about jokes.
I never said handcuffs.
Yeah, you did. You said it should be a crime.
In what? He said Jews and threw at me. No, that's all right. That's all right. Everywhere he goes.
So I got to tell you, Dave, when I look at the person that was saying all those things, that's not the typical person that I would think would act that way. If I looked at that person, I'd be like, oh, that looks like a pretty clean-cut kid, probably a conservative, I would assume, just by looks. Again, you can't glean everything from the way someone looks. But if I were just to take an educated guess, that's why I'm a little bit worried that with our problem on the right here, with the creeping anti-Semitism, because I feel like, I don't know this, but that person probably listens to some folks on the right that are pretty forthright about their anti-Semitism. And it's manifested itself for them to feel bold enough to say something like that to Dave Portnoy on camera, no less. I mean, what's your take on all that?
Right, that's the craziest part. I mean, he does these pizza reviews, which are pretty freaking great, and it was such a great gimmick for him. And he literally takes pizza shops that nobody's ever heard of and turns them into moneymakers. Like, the guy's got so much influence and everything else. It's not as if he's out there being some super Jew, constantly defending Jewish causes in Israel and everything else. He happens to be Jewish. His last name's Portnoy. That's it. So you are right. Is there any doubt that that kid likely listens to some of the people that we've referenced here? I don't think there's any doubt on that. Where do these ideas percolate? Well, they percolate online, and the problem is they're now translating into the real world. And we do know that there is a particularly pernicious version when it comes to anti-Semitism that then does translate into real world violence. Like, we know that. So we should, it gets us to where we started here, but we should then be calling out the people that would do that. Like, what mind virus, as my friend Gad Sad would say, has infected this young kid who's 20 years old, who looks like he's got some money, his clothes fit, he has probably every advantage in the world, and he sees a Jewish guy doing a pizza review and feels that he should throw change at him and say that. That is because the wrong ideas have entered his brain. Now, I'm not for silencing anybody. I didn't hear anyone. By the way, I didn't hear anyone. Everyone kept saying everyone's trying to cancel Tucker and Fuentes. I didn't hear anyone say they shouldn't be on YouTube or X or anything else. They talk crap for a living, and people are allowed to talk crap right back at them, just like people can criticize Tomi Lahren and Dave Rubin, and then we can do it at them. But we do have to realize that we don't know the exact numbers, but it seems like a huge portion of young men in particular are being hit with this stuff. And I would say, by the way, some of that also is the fault of the left. You ran around and you told everybody that being a young white male and heterosexual and all of that was evil. Well, eventually they might turn to some bad ideas. So there's a lot of bad pressures here that we have to kind of extrapolate from.
I agree with you. I think everyone should say what they want to say, even if I find it gross, even if I think it's hate speech. I think everyone should be able to say it, invite whoever they want on their podcast, whatever. I'm not there to police that either. I guess for me, I just don't want to be lumped with it. I just don't want to be in the category. I don't want them to name the names and put people like me and people like you on that list. I don't want to be on that list. And I think we have to make that pretty clear and pretty obvious, but I actually just get irritated that we have to clarify it. Like, no, I'm not that. Please.
Well, look, I mean, I think this is where, the criticism of Tucker here is that you could put anyone on your show. Tommy, you're interviewing me right now. You decide who comes on your show. I decide who comes on my show, and I do my interviews the way I see fit, and some people like them and some people don't. That's just fine. The criticism of Tucker is that Tucker knows when he's arguing with somebody, what made Tucker a star? It was that he would bring on all of these leftists and Democrats, and he would destroy them on Fox. When Tucker doesn't like a guest, like Christian Zionist Ted Cruz, who he obviously hates, he knows how to attack a guest, and yet he sat there with someone who said he's on Team Hitler, and again, all of the things that he has said about, it's not just Jews and blacks, it's Indians and immigrants and gays and all of those things, even though I'm pretty sure he's gay himself, right? That's what everyone online says. I don't know, and I don't care, frankly. But either way, Tucker knows how to push back, and he didn't. So the criticism of Tucker really seems to be that he was laundering those ideas. So if Tucker wants to do a show tomorrow and say, boy, I interviewed that guy, I did it my way, that's fine, but I'm actually against this, that, and the other thing, I think that would be perfectly fine too. I just don't sense that he's going to do that, and I would leave that to the audience to come to their conclusion as to why.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I do want to talk about something that I think is really important. I've been eager to get your take on it. I try to stay out of these like Republican civil wars because I think they're dumb. I don't like to exist on the fringe, and I like to kind of ignore the fringe whenever possible because I just think it's an icky place to be. But I had Michael Knowles on my show this week, and we talked about it a little bit, and he also tries to ignore the fringe as much as he can. But I want to get your take on it. It seems like this civil war of podcasters has really reached a fever pitch after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I want to know your thoughts on it because I haven't had a chance to check in on you.
Yeah, well, first off, Tommy, I do want to say you're on my short list of influencers on the right who I really like and respect right now, because I think you've been on the right side of most of these things, and you treat it kind of the way I do, which is that it's our job and it's important, but I'm not interested in always fighting with everybody all the time for all of the clicks, and I think you come from a similar way of thinking, and I really do respect that. Look, if we never police our own side, if we never call out things that are happening on the right that are bad, then we will become the left. 10 years ago when I was on the left, I was one of the few people calling out the excesses of the progressive movement. And we basically got no backing from the Democrat administration or the Democrat sort of political machine. We got no backing from mainstream media or anything else. And then subsequently, what happened? Well, the Democrats have now become pretty much open socialists. So the right is dealing with a version of that right now. Obviously what you're talking about here is this kind of Tucker Fuentes thing that's happening. And, even though I definitely don't consider myself a traditional conservative, I mean, I wrote the best-selling book of the last 40 years on classical liberalism. Even though I don't consider myself a conservative, I would think that conservatives, you can only conserve something if you set some rules around it, meaning you have to set a border around what your idea set is. And if the conservative idea set includes people who say that they're on Team Hitler, includes people who say that the Holocaust either didn't happen or that blacks should be slaves or are stupider than the rest of us, or the litany of things that this guy said that then Tucker glazed him for, well, that's not really something that I think most conservatives want to be part of. So I've been very, very pleased, actually, as annoying as all of this has been, and it's not fun to see our friends fight, and so many people will just disappoint you across the board. I have to say the fight and push back on the right against this lunacy is way better than anything I saw on the left 10 years ago. So we should take a little bit of that with us right now.
Well, I'm glad that you say that. And unfortunately, it's like there's two worlds, right? There's this social media world, and then there's the real world. But for people who exist in this world, or people that are, obviously big fans of podcasts and podcasters, they're very much in it. And I talked about this with Michael Knowles yesterday, but I don't like to see what the fringe is doing. I try to avoid it at all costs. I don't like to listen to it. Quite frankly, don't have time for it. I like to exist much closer to the mainstream. But I have people who listen to me, listen to you, but also listen to others. And I'm tired of them asking me questions about conspiracy theories and just things that I find icky. I don't like to talk about it. I don't like people that try to pull me into conversations about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I find it icky. I don't like to dabble in the conspiracy theories. And it really rubs me the wrong way. I was like, please don't, if they want to do that, do it. but I don't like being grouped in with it, and I don't like being asked about it. And I'm sure you've been asked about it probably more than I have, and I don't know how you even respond to it.
Well, look, Tommy, the thing is that some of this, look, are there bad actors and are there genuine racists? I don't run around calling people racist. I really don't. I don't run around calling people anti-Semites or anything else. I really try to take people at their words and analyze that. Does some subset of that exist? Obviously. And in this case, in that this Fuentes kid literally tweeted out Team Hitler, and that's just one of a laundry list of things. To me, it seems like it would be the easiest thing in the world for people on the right. You know, people on the right for the last 10 years have been called Nazis and racists and all the rest of it. Trump was called Hitler and everything else. And everyone said, no, you're mislabeling us. We're not Nazis and Hitler. So it would be the easiest low bar thing to possibly just say, you know what? When someone who's a self-proclaimed Nazi or Hitler Stalin admirer wants to be part of our operation over here, we're just not going to have it. Like, how could we possibly ask for less than that? But just real quick, let me say one other thing on this. You know, part of this is just, it's not all about the ideas. Part of this is the nature of the internet. The internet is always bringing the fringe to the center. That's just the way the algorithms work and the way our minds work. So it's like, for most of us, we want to live freely. We want to agree to disagree. We love America, all of those things. And we can argue about marginal tax rates. And we can even argue about abortion and a whole bunch more. The problem with the way the internet is if somebody says something completely freaking insane, conspiracy theory or just totally wacky, everyone online starts looking at that, and then they start dragging it into the center. So everything that used to be thought of as completely insane is constantly being dragged to the center. And that is just something we're gonna have to grapple with as we, you know, plow through the next 20 years of all holding the world in our pocket with this phone.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I want to just jump into California real quick because I'm sure that, like me, you really pay attention still what's going on there. And of course, Gavin Newsom, we both lived under his reign, okay? But now I think he's in Brazil and he's trying to blame the Palisades fire on climate change. Again, that's a great rewrite of history there, but he really is on the world stage, and we know he's going to run for president. But not only is he going to run, in his mind, he's going to win. So I'm wondering, do you think we should just laugh him off, or do you think he actually has a chance?
Well, I think both of those things are the way to do it. He absolutely has a chance, and we must laugh him off. We must mock him. We must make fun of him. We must expose him. I mean, this guy is the single most dishonest politician I have ever seen in my life. Almost nothing. You challenge me on this if you can. I don't think you'll be able to. Almost nothing he ever says is true, period. Whether it's all of the COVID lies, whether it's everything he says about Trump, whether it's going down to Brazil and blaming climate change for what happened in the Palisades. I'm pretty sure that the reservoirs in Los Angeles that didn't have water, that had nothing to do with climate change. I mean, the guy he is a chameleon. You know, I always say he's a lizard person just wearing a human skin suit, and I almost half kidding about that. I'm not even totally sure anymore. But he's deeply dangerous because, you know, the thing with him is that Gavin Newsom is not a pure ideologue the way, say, a Bernie Sanders or an AOC is, in that he's like a complete progressive leftist maniac. What he is much more, I would say, is scarier, actually, because he will do anything for power. So there's no position he won't take in the quest for power. When you're dealing with an ideologue, you can sort of understand the way they think and you can act accordingly. But this guy acts much more in line with a chameleon who's changing his colors all the time. And I think that's much more dangerous. But 100% he's running, even though he says he's not. And yes, we must make fun of him at all costs. Did you know that he takes some of those 8-month aborted babies in California and he grinds them up and uses them as hair gel? Did you know that, Tommy?
Well, the thing about Gavin is you're exactly right. He will be anyone to anybody at any time for any reason, as long as it gets him political power and a camera in his face. You're exactly right. He tried to play a moderate earlier in the year. He was like, I'm a moderate. And he wanted to sit down with Charlie Kirk and he wanted to do this podcast and he wanted to talk to people on the right, because he saw after the election last year that moderates were probably going to do better. And then he realized, no, we got to go full TDS. You got to be the one to oppose Trump the most. And then him and Pritzker are now fighting this battle of who's going to oppose Trump more. And that's his shtick. But he gets this prop passed in California. I'd also point out that the voters also voted for Prop 36 to undo the felon coddling, and he won't fund that one. But I'm guessing he'll probably fund Prop 50 because he wants to redistrict. We know this. But
oh, of course. But real quick, Tommy, just to illustrate the level of lying with this guy, since you brought up our friend Charlie, you know, on that episode where he brought Charlie on, he says that his son is a Charlie Kirk super fan. That's his quote. Then just about 10 days ago on CNN, he goes on and says, well, his son just kind of knew of Charlie Kirk. Everything with this guy is for political expediency, full stop.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's just gross for me to watch. I think that if he is challenged, all you have to do is look at California. It's like, okay, you did this to California. Why should we trust you? But there are, of course, Americans that are just going to vote for someone who sounds good. They're not really read up on everything that he's done to destroy that state. So I am concerned about that a little bit. Let's talk about the left now. Let's talk about Jasmine Crockett. Speaking of Ted Cruz, you know, Jasmine's floating the idea.
Boy, you're just hitting me with the wizards here, huh?
Yeah. I want to go to Jasmine Crockett. I want to play a clip from someone who I actually respect to a certain degree, and that's Charlamagne the God. And I respect him because I think he normally calls it like he sees it. I don't agree with most of it, but I feel like he's usually pretty fair in that and criticizing the left and the right. But he has some opinions on Jasmine Crockett that I found really interesting. Let's take a listen.
Jasmine Crockett is actually what the Democrats should be leaning into, like, because she is a phenomenal messenger. And some people just got it. Like, some people just have a different anointing on them. You don't know why certain people, you know, cause folks to gravitate towards them. She is the most effective messenger that the Democratic Party has right now, and they need to be using her as a Trojan horse.
Sometimes it feels like no matter what you do, seeing real results takes forever. But what if there was a better way to feel stronger, more confident, fully in charge of your fitness journey? Forget the numbers. It's time to focus on redefining and unlocking your true potential. Ketone by Brickhouse Nutrition was created by doctors specifically for women. Ketone helps you look more toned, defined, sculpted without changing your diet and exercise. Yes, without changing your diet and exercise. Ketone is radically different from Guy's creatine. It's designed for women with pure creatine and patented ingredients that reshape your body so you look leaner, trimmer, and more toned. No water retention, no weight gain, no bulking up. It boosts metabolism to help you burn fat. Redefine results and watch how fast Ketone can help you look leaner, toned, and sculpted. Let's get you started with 20% off your first order. Visit tonetoday.com. Use my code TOMMY, T-O-M-I, for your discount. Again, use my code TOMMY to save 20% at tonetoday.com. That's tone, T-O-N-E, today.com. I love it when the left elevates Jasmine Crockett. I think it's better for the right, but that's an interesting take that she's like the most effective voice on the left. I'm not so sure.
Well, first off, you're a little nicer than me because although I do agree that he's not terrible, this guy, I cannot call him Charlamagne the God. His name is Lenny, and I call him Lenny. So that was Lenny's opinion on that. And I will say that Lenny is probably right to some extent, which is that does she have something that causes people like us to talk about her? Her eyelashes are ridiculous. She has her fake ghetto affect, which is completely fake, by the way. And she's pretty and she gets it culturally. So is there something that is shiny about her that is an important piece of politics? Obviously, the answer is yes. The thing is, her ideas are terrible. So I would ask Lenny, well, what are the ideas that you agree with her? You know, you might say, well, Trump, he looks, you know, he's orange, he's got the crazy hair, he was a TV personality and a real estate guy. But Trump had largely the right set of ideas, right? So he had both. So if what you're arguing, Lenny, is, all right, well, we should just, as Democrats, we should just make this cult of personality and we should just get the most ridiculous, over-the-top people because they will garner attention. Well, that might be right, actually, but this country will be destroyed in the process. But we will all get free eyelashes, I assume. I mean, I don't know that much about fake eyelashes, but she's got to be spending a couple grand a month on these things, right?
You know, I'm not sure if she glues them on with medical grade or with a simple lash glue. I'm not entirely sure, but she's an interesting person. I think the same thing with her and AOC. All these people that are like, well, AOC is going to be president, she's going to be the nominee, and I just, to me, there's nothing behind it, to your point. There's no substance behind it.
Well, look at Zorhan. The guy has never done anything. He's never run a business. He's never employed people. I mean, he's done nothing other than be, ironically, a child of privilege from rich parents, who then became, who I suppose was TV ready. I mean, I see through it so easily. So his smile and affect, it's all utterly disgusting to me. But I guess a certain amount of people see just TV ready, and they're like, oh, I want a sitcom star. Frankly, I'd prefer, a politician that was like not so great on TV, but knew how to govern. Maybe Ron DeSantis here in Florida, who's turned this into the freest state in the union, and I would say a beacon of freedom in the entire world. He's not the best on television, but he does things right. But I don't know, I'm old school, I guess.
I'm old school too. Also a big fan of Ron DeSantis. Let's talk about that a little bit. We're hearing the names for 2028. It's early, but it's never too early. We're hearing of Vance Rubio, right? It's not the worst ticket, Vance Rubio, right? I don't know how you think it'll do, but it's interesting to me. I don't know if Ron DeSantis will try it again. I really didn't like the way that MAGA ate him up because he dared to run against Trump. Like, I know that the loyalty pledge is important in the MAGA movement, but President Trump has hired a lot of people that challenged him. Rubio being one, by the way. J.D. Vance, who said horrible things about him, by the way. So for me, like, Trump can get over it. But I don't know if Ron DeSantis will give it another go because of how he was treated by the conservative movement. It's so weird to me, though, because I do think in terms of just cold, hard, getting it done, I don't think there's a better example of someone who's actually gotten it done than Ron DeSantis. So I'm hoping that he enters back, but I don't know. How do you think he'll be embraced?
Yeah, it's a little hard to say because there was a scorched earth situation. DeSantis was the only threat to Trump at the time. Obviously, I fully backed him. And look, I'm thrilled that Donald Trump is our president and that Ron DeSantis is my governor. So in essence, it worked out for me as a Floridian, right? I got the best of both worlds. But can he recover from the types of attacks they did last time? Well, look, you just said it. I mean, politics is a weird thing. Marco Rubio, Trump used to call him Little Marco, and he was sweaty little dry mouth Marco, and now he's become the best Secretary of State probably in my lifetime. So you just never know. As you said, JD used to say awful things about Trump. The politics really changes very quickly. But the question is, to the backdrop of the Jasmine thing, if the Democrats just want the shiny object, well, the question is, well, what do the Republicans want? And if the Republicans want the shiny object, it's probably not DeSantis and it's probably not Rubio. I think JD has a little better kind of television-ready personality for all of this that might fly a little bit more. Remember during the VP debate when he was given the Jim from The Office side eye to the camera, like he understands that game a little bit more. But it's so early to say. We got to get through these midterms. We got to get through a year of a socialist, communist, half jihadist running New York City, and then we'll see where it all shakes out. But I would say this, the bench is pretty good. I mean, between JD, between Marco, maybe Tulsi's involved in there. Who knows? Maybe RFK jumps in again. Like there actually is a bench of people that you could be like, oh, they could be the president. Versus on the Democrat side where you pointed it out, it's Newsom and Pritzker basically fighting over, the moderate position, which doesn't really exist in the party. And then you got a bunch of crazy people.
The only person on the Democrat side as of now that makes me nervous, and when I say nervous, I mean because I think they could win, is Shapiro. I don't see anybody else. I think that of the names that have been floated, I could tick off everything that's disqualifying or that wouldn't work. Shapiro's the only one that I'm like, oh, if they ran him, he might do well.
Yeah, but Tommy, I mean, I hate to say it, and I think you know what I'm going to say already, which is that his last name is Shapiro, and he is Jewish, and the base of the Democrat Party, which is now, I have no problem saying it, a Hamas-supporting mob. They will never go for it. Kamala basically admitted that's why she didn't choose him last time. But yes, is he a moderate who is well-spoken, who's the governor of a state that is purple, so has to do a little bit of everything? And is he competent? And although I disagree with him on some things, like would the Democrat Party be much healthier, whether I was going to vote for them or not, if they went with a guy like him? The answer is yes. Is there any chance they're going to go with him? The answer is no.
Speaking of that, what I thought has always been interesting, and it's exactly to your point, when, the arsonist lit his home on fire, we heard less outrage from the Democrats on that than we have about any of the other fake hate crime hoaxes, whether it be the Bubba Wallace thing or LeBron or, Jussie Smollett, right? The left was far more outraged about that and a lot of them hoaxes than they were about a very legitimate thing that happened to a Democrat governor. They mentioned it as like, oh, they use it when they do the whataboutisms. They use it when they can put it on the list of like, look at, your side does it. Well, that wasn't our side that did it, by the way. That wasn't us.
Right.
But there wasn't that much outrage about, they're trying to light him and his family on fire. The left didn't seem too concerned about it.
I mean, when you put ideology over truth, you're going to basically score things as you see them, not as they should be scored, right? So if you think in the intersectional calculator that the Jews are the oppressor, so by extension, the governor, the very moderate governor of Pennsylvania is an oppressor in this case, and then you can make all the connections to Israel and everything else, then you wouldn't be able to be that outraged when this happens. And ironically, I would say this is exactly what the left has fomented against much of, it's not even just Jews, it's anyone who loves America. You are now on the outs of that party. If you don't want the government to do everything, if you want to earn and keep what's more of yours and all of those things, you are on the outs of that party. Let's not forget, we also we're just out of a 40-day government shutdown where the Democrats kept telling us that 40 million people are starving. We tried to do some research on this. Maybe Tommy, maybe your guys could check for us. I couldn't find $1 that Bernie Sanders or AOC or Sonny Hostin, who's married to a man worth $450 million over at The View, if any of these people had literally donated $1 to the people who they claimed were starving. So it's not that they're good guys. They just want to pretend they're good guys with your money.
You're exactly right about that. In my last 2 minutes with you, I want to turn to some fun stuff. Let's talk about AI. So I know that you had AI take over your show. You got to tell me how that went, first of all. I don't even know how you do that, I guess. But
Tommy, the robots are coming.
Yeah?
They're coming, and you can't fight your new robot overlords. Look, here's the deal. I mean, as it comes to AI and robotics and all of these things, I'm a big sci-fi guy. Dystopian movies are all my favorite stuff. Terminator 2, The Machines Are On, Matrix, all Total Recall, all that stuff. Look, it's all coming. And in all of those movies, there's always a moment before it all goes haywire where somebody's like, guys, could we just kind of take a look and maybe not go this far? And of course, we always do. And Skynet always gets turned on and all of those things. What I've decided as it pertains to these things is it's not that I want the robots to take over. It's not that I want to be the carbon battery for the digital world like in the Matrix. But I do think for those of us in this biz, and really every business, you have to lean into it a little bit. So we created an AI model of me, and basically we can feed him information, and the audience can ask him questions, and the internet, he's fed all the information of the internet, and he can respond basically as me. It's not 100% perfect, the sense of humor is a little stiffer. There's some stuff there, but we're going to just play with it as we enter this new horizon, because I think a lot of people think that it's just going to be, it's going to be all like the very tactile people who will be replaced. The paint on your house will be done by a drone that's controlled by AI, so it'll replace the painter. That's part of it, but it could replace virtually all of us across the board, including those of us who talk for a living. So you may as well have some relationship with it before it takes over.
It's interesting.
We'll get you, Tommy AI. We'll get on that.
I can only imagine what it would say. I'm really curious about that. I will say, though, taking a vacation, that sounds nice. Like, boy, you mean someone could do it while I took a vacation? I haven't done that in a while, so that sounds really interesting. But I think, too, the left is going to really have a difficult time. They're really going to struggle with this because for so long they've told everybody that does blue collar jobs or manual labor jobs that, if something gets taken away from them, they should just learn to code. It's like, oh yeah, you work in a coal mine. Well, that's bad. We've decided that we have the moral high ground on this and your job doesn't matter. And they spent so long saying that all these people don't matter. But now that AI is coming for their lofty jobs, right now they're like, ban AI. And I find it so disingenuous. It's like now you've got a billboard list with some AI artists on it. And then the artists are like, clutching their pearls. Like, you can't do this. We are true artists. But the people that actually risk their lives in a coal mine or on a pipeline or whatever, like those people never mattered. So I say, F these celebrities who are getting taken over by AI. They deserve it.
I will certainly co-sign on that. It's kind of like when they tell you that if we stop illegal immigration, nobody's going to pick our tomatoes, and it's like, okay, so I guess what you're saying is you want perpetual servitude for Mexicans to pick our tomatoes. But of course, the other problem with that is it is literally being replaced with robots right now. So what you're also telling me is you want to bring in all these people. They can pick our tomatoes for another year or two. The robots are going to take over, and then what are you going to do with all of these people? So, like most things with the left, it kind of runs pretty thin.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that. I guess the tiers, like they really want us to feel sorry for them, which I think is just a hot take, right? The victimhood on that side is just, I mean, it's a textbook, but it's also just funny to watch and to see. Last question for you, because I got about 4 minutes left. This government shutdown, the flight stuff. I'm mad as hell, and I have to fly. I don't know how often you fly. I fly weekly. And I'm pissed, okay? I am so pissed off that this was done. And this is going to have ramifications long after, by the way, because the airlines are going to jack up the fares. It's going to be so expensive to fly this spring and summer. And I'm wondering who you think is ultimately going to take the blame. Do you think the American people are wise enough to understand who did this to them?
Oof. Well, look. If the question really is who is to blame, of course it's the Democrats, which is why when 8 Democrats decided to open the government became open. There were no more Republicans on the Senate side to vote for it. So it was 100% the Democrats. And Chuck Schumer is going to pay the price because he got no concessions out of this thing. He didn't even vote to open the government, and they still want to primary him. So he's really screwed in this. As to who the Americans are going to blame, I mean, of course, they should blame the Democrats, but I don't know if you know about this channel, CNN, and maybe there's this newspaper, New York Times, a couple of other things. They confuse a lot of people about who the good guys and bad guys are, and they lie about almost everything. So is it possible that more people will ultimately blame the Republicans and they will be able to tie, increased prices on airlines to Republican policy, or just because Donald Trump's in office? It's kind of like, why does the incumbent president's the midterms for his party always go so poor? It's not necessarily because all the candidates are bad, but people are just always looking to blame somebody. So you blame the guy that's in power, even if it's not his fault. So it's a little hard to say. I mean, from what I've seen, most people kind of seem to be blaming the Democrats right now. Even the Democrats are blaming the Democrats, right? Because AOC and Bernie are blaming Schumer for opening up. Schumer's blaming AOC and Bernie for not wanting to open up. So I'm just kind of having some popcorn while I watch them fight it out.
Popcorn, unless you have to fly. And then I'm mad as hell. And I tell everybody when I had my flight canceled last week and everybody's in line for the next flight in the morning and that's getting messed with too, and everybody's really pissed off, I'm like, just remember who did this to you. Because
you mean you don't have the Tomi Lahren plane?
No.
Come on. What's going on over there?
I certainly do not. But I'm telling you, I try to remind people of this. I think it's obvious the Democrats are showing themselves, because when you get mad that the government is going to reopen, you pretty much are taking credit for it shutting down. So exactly. I think it's pretty obvious. Not everybody is touched by food stamps. Not everybody is touched by, getting laid off. Not everybody's a federal worker or knows a federal worker, right? But pretty much everybody is impacted by travel, especially this close to the holidays. So I'm hoping that that's a wake-up call, and we'll see. We'll see. But Democrats did all of this for absolutely nothing. So they got played, and for once, Republicans had enough of a backbone not to give in. So I guess that's a silver lining, at least for me.
Tommy, just call him Lenny from now on. Can you do that for me?
I will definitely do it. I knew that wasn't his real name, but I didn't know it was Lenny. So now I know, and I'm better for it.
Just Lenny. Doesn't that seem funny? Seems particularly, it's Lenny.
Yeah. I don't know how that changed to Charlamagne, but the God. I love it. Well, we're all gods, I guess, in our own eyes in some ways, more so on the left. And you know what?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess President Trump, they want him to be a king pretty bad too. They want him to make sure everyone gets their snap. But I thought he wasn't a king. So interesting stuff. Dave, I know you got to run.
It's all gods and kings with these people.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time. Enjoy wonderful, beautiful, sunny Florida, and I'll talk to you soon.
Good to see you, Tommy.
Thanks so much. Folks, that does it for the episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. You got full episodes on Outkick and Fox Nation. Also, the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. Don't forget, big weekend show on Fox News, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern every Saturday and Sunday. Fox News, I'll be there, so I hope you'll watch. But from Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. For more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Just click right here so you never miss a beat. I will be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.